The legendary flame main of the Eremites is finally going to be playable. With her fearsome fists and blazing kicks, Dehya takes charge and commands the battlefield. What I want to say. If you're a channel regular, you know how excited I've been about Dehya since Sumeru arrived. And when her animations were revealed to be mainly fisticuffs, I was beyond hyped because hand-to-hand combat is my favorite type of combat. But something's odd about Dehya, and not in a good way. Who is Dehya? From what we're given in the story, she seems like a frontline brawler who jumps into the fray without hesitation. Proud of her powers and capabilities, Dehya fears no enemies. She is shown to be quick, ferocious, and headstrong, and I want you to keep these traits in mind as we go through this video together. Dehya's elemental skill, Molten Inferno, has two modes. The first is called Indomitable Flame. When used, Dehya deals AoE pyro damage around her and drops a field known as the Fury Sanctum. While in this field, opponents who take damage will also be hit with a coordinated pyro attack that scales off of Dehya's attack and maximum HP. This effect can trigger once every 2.5 seconds. Additionally, characters within this field have an increased resistance to interruptions, and when such characters take damage, a portion of that damage is transferred to Dehya over the span of 10 seconds, up to 200% of Dehya's maximum HP. The damage effect is called Redmane's Blood. Only one Fury Sanctum can exist at a time, and while the field is active, players can recast Dehya's elemental skill known as Ranging Flame, moving the center of the Fury Sanctum to her current location. And sadly, the field shares the same duration as the original Fury Sanctum. The field duration of Fury Sanctum is 12 seconds, and the skill itself has a cooldown of 20 seconds. Dehya's elemental skill has a direct link to one of her Ascension passive, Unstinting Succor. This passive grants Dehya damage mitigation for 6 seconds after receiving damage from Redmane's Blood. This can be triggered once every 2 seconds and helps Dehya to become even tankier. Additionally, this passive also grants the entire party the Goldforged state, making each member even more resistant to interruption. This effect can only be activated once every 18 seconds and will last for 9 seconds after unleashing Dehya's Fury Sanctum. Her second Ascension passive, Steward and True, lets Dehya become a somewhat self-sufficient sustained tank. When her HP is less than 40%, Dehya will recover 20% of her max HP and restore 6% of her max HP every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. This passive can trigger once every 20 seconds. Just going off the elemental skill, she fits more as an off-field support, with Dehya herself acting basically like a shield, but not, because Hoyoverse has a quota for unique character kits. Probably. Using her elemental burst, Leonine Bite, Dehya enters her blazing lioness state, increasing her resistance to interruption and automatically unleashing a furious barrage of haymakers at enemies over the span of 4 seconds. This is known as Flame Main's Fist. Players are given a mini game where if they tap the normal attack when Dehya hits the enemy, her next attack comes out 0.4 seconds faster, and this stacks. At the end of the Fist Barrage, Dehya leaps into the air and delivers a dive kick called Incineration Drive, which will deal increased damage, and if a Fury Sanctum exists on the field, it will be moved to the center of impact. Just like her elemental skill recast, the duration of this field, however, uses the duration timer of the original elemental skill cast. While flashy and awesome looking, this burst only lasts for 4 seconds and has a cooldown of 18 seconds and an energy cost of 70. These attacks also scale mainly off of attack percent with some slight max HP scaling. Furthermore, these attacks are not considered a normal attack, so it won't proc Xingqiu or Yelan's elemental burst follow-up attacks. Based on her kit, she seems like an off-field support tank with a small burst window. Don't get me wrong, the animations for her burst barrage looks insane, but compared to other characters, her damage seems very lacking. Probably attributed to her split scaling of HP and attack, and the cooldown for her burst comparative to how long it's active can be jarring for most players. It's not that she needs to be a damage dealer, but she seems very unfocused on both a gameplay and lore factor. Her animation speaks of someone who loves to fight. Based on her story, she is fearless and headstrong. Her off-field tanking nature does give you that illusion that she is a good bruiser, but that's the thing, she's off-field. That's as far away from the thick of things as you can get. Let's describe Dehya real quick. She's a turret, off-field tank, support DPS character. And that leads me to my point. I get trying to fill new niches in gameplay, but what happened? Dehya is the perfect example to me of ludonarrative dissonance in gaming. The player, us, are given specific context on our character and how they would behave in battle, and even the gameplay animations showcase somebody who's very proficient at dispensing damage. We hear a lot about their combat prowess, but in gameplay, they just sit in the back of the party soaking up damage while pooping out a pyro turret that doesn't really do a great job of applying pyro anyways. And once every 18 seconds, you can auto-roll your enemies to death. Maybe, if you do enough damage, I don't know. I'm sure no one would have complained if she was a variant of a pyro DPS because it fits her story and lore. What we got, however, is a bag of mixed ideas that goes against Dehya's character fantasy. But it's worse than it seems. I personally thought that after Jin Yan and the first version of Zhongli, Hoyoverse started to understand why split scaling doesn't really work for Genshin Impact at all, and have gotten better at making focused characters that synergize with one core stat line. It also seems super weird to me that in a DPS-centric game with an abundance of overpowered shields and heals, that we're getting a sustain tank. It's a concept I love, but it doesn't make any sense in the grand scheme of Genshin Impact, at least as of right now. This leads me to believe that someone or something in Fontaine is going to unlock Dehya's true potential, making them a bit apprehensive in terms of overloading Dehya with synergistic traits. It's what I would say if I was on some copium. A character being very strong in a PvE game is just good business for Hoyoverse no matter how you shake it. And saying that Dehya needs to be a little bit weaker because she's gonna be part of the standard character banner makes no sense because Tignari exists and is a very good character. To repeat, I don't mind that she's weak on release. I don't mind that they want to try new things with their character kits. What I do mind, and I'm particular about, is that dissonance between story and gameplay. Genshin has been very good at maintaining a consistent quality, which is why Dehya breaks my heart. In story, she knows exactly who she is and what she's good at. In gameplay, she does a bit of everything, but doesn't seem very good at anything. But there is hope for Dehya. With some HP scaling tweaking for her damage, Dehya could be amazing. She just needs more synergies with her scaling instead of a split attack or HP scaling. Apologies for the rant, let's move on. Bennett is a standout partner for Dehya regardless of comps because of several factors. For one, Bennett grants a lot of attack and healing, both things Dehya would like. Secondly, Bennett can battery Dehya and vice versa. And lastly, Pyro Resonance is a great way to boost your overall team's DPS by giving a party-wide 25% attack boost. If you want to use Dehya as your main on-field character, Bennett at C6 will be the only character so far who can infuse Dehya's no more attacks with Pyro, and this is useful because Dehya has a long cooldown on her burst, which in a Dehya-centric comp is going to be her main source of damage. As an off-field sub-DPS, however, Dehya can do a pretty good job facilitating pyro reactions in certain team comps, though there are some concerns that her pyro application speed is a bit on the slower side. Ganyu seems like a great fit for Dehya. Not only does she want melt anyways, but she also gets a big increase to her interruption resistance, which helps Ganyu to charge up her frostflake arrows more consistently. On the opposite hand, Ganyu's elemental burst consistently applies cryo to the enemies, allowing Dehya to make use of her elemental burst to great effect. Another set of DPS characters that may appreciate Dehya and has really stood out for me are the Kamisato siblings. For the case of Ayaka, it is arguably better to leave her in a freeze comp, allowing Ayaka to fully land her burst more consistently, and with Ayato, they seem to play really well together. More resistance for Ayato never hurts. They also have some shared HP % scaling, so if you did want to run double Hydro instead, that would also work. And just like Ganyu, Ayato has the ability to consistently apply Hydro to enemies so that way Dehya's burst can be used to its full effect. Another fun pairing for Dehya is Candice, who have a lot of synergies together. Both characters have HP scaling, and Candice's elemental burst can provide both characters with Hydro Infusion, which allows Dehya to proc bait more consistently, or Candice, depending on who you want to make as the main driver. Characters like Kazuha, Kokomi, Barbara, Mona, and Nahida also seem very synergistic with Dehya, but then again, those characters are just flat out good and work in most teams anyways. If you're interested in pulling for Dehya, what does your team look like? Which characters are you going to be pairing up with Dehya? Let us know in the comments below. If you're having a great time, support this channel by leaving a like and consider subscribing for more Genshin Impact content. Thanks. Dehya prefers the following artifact sets. The clear winner as of the making of this video is Tenacity of the Millilith. It increases Dehya's HP and at 4 pieces will add utility to her elemental skill, providing a 10% attack buff to her teammates. If you're looking to maximize Dehya's personal damage, Emblem of Severed Fate is the way to go. All the punches in her burst are elemental burst damage and she has a high energy cost anyways, so by using this artifact you'll be able to cut down on her energy needs while greatly augmenting her damage. For Sans, I would recommend attack %. The reason being is that, at least based on pre-release data, her HP scaling is somewhat middling. And because Genshin Impact is a DPS-centric game, you're gonna get more out of doing more damage. However, in specific setups with future characters, HP Sans may be better. For Goblet, no contest pyro damage bonus is the way to go, and lastly, you want to go with crit damage or crit rate circlet, depending on what substats you have and what weapons you want to use for your build. Her 3 substats to go for is crit damage or crit rate, attack %, and HP % in that order. Dehya's weapon choices are as follows. First up is her signature claymore, Beacon of the Reed Sea. It comes with 608 attack and a crit rate substat. The weapon's passive makes it so whenever the wielder's elemental skill hits an opponent, they'll get an attack increase for 8 seconds. If the wielder takes damage of any kind, they'll also get an additional attack bonus that also lasts for 8 seconds. These two effects can trigger even when the wielder is not on field, and additionally, when not protected by a shield, the character's max HP is increased by 32%. For better and for worse, this is Dehya's best in slot and is super oddly specifically tailored to Dehya, which makes the value proposition of this sword not so great. I guess it would be decent for D-Luke as well, but yeah, there's just so many things that just say, hey, use this on Dehya and don't think about it, bro. It's also not the best looking sword out there. Next up is the good old reliable Wolf's Gravestone. The color matches Dehya pretty well, and the weapon itself is a great stat stick that provides a crap ton of attack to the wielder and the entire party. If you're going with the Emblem of Severed Fate build for Dehya, Skyward Pride may be a good contender. It has a very high attack value, provides energy recharge, and an omni damage increase effect. It also shoots out vacuum blades from time to time, which helps you increase your overall damage. For 4-star options, these claymores will help Dehya's supportive capabilities. Favonius Greatsword makes Dehya's kit more consistent and self-sufficient by providing her with energy recharge and energy particles on crit. Sacrificial Greatsword also provides energy recharge, but at Refinement rank 5 allows Dehya to provide 100% uptime for her Fury Sanctum due to the elemental skill reset properties of the Greatsword. For more offensively oriented Dehyas, these 4-star options will do the trick. Akumaru is a pretty fun weapon for main DPS Dehya. It provides good base attack value and additional attack from the substats, and can provide up to 80% increase in elemental burst damage at Refinement rank 5. Another fun option would be the Kasura Gakiri Nagamasa, which has a decent basic attack, gives energy recharge, and has a passive skill that boosts elemental skill damage. Black Cliff Slasher also seems like a great option, providing crit damage as a substat and additional attack whenever you defeat enemies. Prototype Archaic is mainly a stat stick, but the drip synergy with Dehya's Gauntlet is going to elevate this weapon choice for me as well. Lastly, the Luxurious Sea Lord provides everything Dehya wants. Attack substats, increases in elemental burst damage, and additional AoE damage when hitting enemies with your burst. The Tuna Rush AoE can only be procced every 15 seconds, which lines up pretty nicely for Dehya's elemental burst. This will probably be my go-to drip weapon for Dehya because I've been waiting forever to give this awesome weapon a home. Dehya's constellations are as follows. Constellation 1, the Flame Incandescent, which grants Dehya a 20% increase in her max HP, and provides additional HP scaling to her elemental skill and elemental burst attacks. While this should have been in her base kit, the true question is if the damage increase on her C1 will be enough to justify playing her as a DPS. Maybe in the future, C1 Dehya could be very strong, but right now, it does not seem like she's going to be shaking up any metas. Constellation 2, the Sand Blaze is Glittering, increases Dehya's Fury Sanctum duration by 6 seconds whenever she recreates the field. Additionally, whenever an active character within the field takes damage, the next coordinated attack will deal 50% more damage. Constellation 3 increases Dehya's elemental burst talent by 3 levels. Constellation 4, an Oath Abiding, makes it so Dehya restores energy and HP whenever she lands any hits with her elemental burst attacks. The effects can occur once every 0.2 seconds. Constellation 5 increases Dehya's elemental skill talent level by 3, and Constellation 6 increases the crit rate of her elemental burst attack by 10%, and a 15% rolling crit damage that can stack up to 60% for each time she lands her elemental burst attack. Dehya's constellations exemplify exactly what I mentioned earlier. What does she really want to be? As a Dehya lover, I'm glad that her elemental burst animations won't go to waste if you do invest in Dehya, because you'll get more consistent bursts and more damaging bursts for investing in her. However, outside of very minor HP restoration on C4, nothing really points to Dehya being some kind of tank or off-field support. Mainly, it's just more damage. It really feels that she's supposed to be a DPS, but is forced to have this weird split scaling and a weird role that isn't any better, and is arguably a bit worse than just having a Zhongli shield, or a Layla shield, or any other shield for that matter. I love her animations, and I'm glad she's joining the standard banner. I'll be very happy for her to pity break me and be a long-term project for C6. I do hope that Dehya ends up becoming a great character, and I don't want to poison the well even further. I just have a problem with the gameplay mechanics that Dehya is coming with. With how she was characterized and how she actually plays, it feels like Hoyoverse really dropped the ball. This reminds me a lot of version 1 Zhongli, a war god whose only function is to be a shield bot without any impact on your team's overall DPS. However, we haven't truly tested Dehya out yet, so I want to reserve that judgment for after she releases. I was also apprehensive about Raiden Shogun during pre-release, and to this day, I think that Hoyoverse really nailed the marriage between A's character and her gameplay, so who knows, maybe there's hope. And now, I want to turn it to all of you. Are you excited to pull for her? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in learning more about a much better realized kit, check out my Al Haytham build guide video on screen right now. My name is Varsona, and I'll see you next time.